Your mindset is your internal operating system. When it's programmed to believe in growth, resilience, and purpose, you create outcomes that reflect that code. You seek learning rather than comfort. You build discipline rather than depend on luck. You get back up even when things fall apart. Mindset is the difference between those who adapt and thrive and those who complain and stay the same. It may not change the weather, but it determines whether you walk in the rain or dance in it. What you believe about yourself, others, and the world directly shapes how you behave. Beliefs are not just ideas stored in your mind. They are instructions. They quietly dictate how you show up, what choices you make, and how you respond to life. If you believe you're not good enough, you'll approach opportunities with hesitation, often sabotaging yourself before you even begin. If you believe you have value and potential, you'll step forward with confidence, take more risks, and stay committed longer. Behavior is simply the outward expression of inner belief. It's how the invisible becomes visible. Every action you take is preceded by a thought, and every thought is rooted in a belief. When someone believes that hard work pays off, they put in the effort even when results aren't immediate. When someone believes that failure is final, they quit after the first setback. Bing! This is why two people in the same situation can react in completely different ways. One might see a challenge as a test, the other as a threat. The difference lies not in their ability, but in their belief system. Beliefs are often formed early, shaped by parents, culture, education, and personal experiences. Unfortunately, many of these beliefs go unchallenged. They become unconscious rules we live by. I'm not a leader. I can't trust people. Whose success is for other people, not me. These internal narratives create limits, even when the external path is clear. Your actions are loyal to your beliefs, even if those beliefs are outdated or false. This is why real change doesn't begin with new habits. It begins with new beliefs. Consider how a belief in one's worth changes behavior. When someone truly believes they deserve respect, they stop tolerating disrespect. When they believe they can grow, they seek out feedback instead of fearing it. When they believe they're capable, they take initiative instead of waiting to be rescued. These shifts aren't superficial. They're transformative. The behavior changes not because someone forced themselves, but because they now see themselves differently. That's the beauty of belief. It doesn't just influence what you do, it changes how you feel about what you do. It creates internal alignment. You no longer have to fake motivation or discipline. Your behavior becomes a natural extension of who you believe you are. When belief and behavior are in harmony, progress becomes sustainable. You no longer rely on willpower alone. You move with purpose, clarity, and conviction. The people who create lasting change in their lives, who build healthy relationships, pursue meaningful goals, and overcome adversity are not always the smartest or most talented. They're often the ones who have decided to believe something different about themselves. And once the belief shifts, the behavior follows. Always, a growth mindset is the belief that abilities, intelligence, and talents can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. This perspective fundamentally changes how challenges are viewed. Instead of interpreting difficulty as a sign to stop or as evidence of inadequacy, those with a growth mindset see challenges as opportunities to stretch, grow, and rise beyond what they previously thought possible. Obstacles become teachers, and setbacks become part of the learning curve, not reasons to give up. This way of thinking doesn't avoid hardship, it leans into it, knowing that within every struggle lies a hidden benefit or a valuable lesson. When you adopt a growth mindset, failure is no longer feared. It's understood to be a necessary part of mastery. Every mistake is feedback. Every delay is a test of patience and resilience. This doesn't mean that pain or difficulty is enjoyable, but it means you no longer assign negative meaning to the struggle itself. Instead of asking, well, why is this happening to me? You ask, what can I learn from this? That shift in questioning is powerful. It puts you in control. It reframes the situation from something that's happening to you into something that's happening for you. This mindset unlocks potential because it eliminates the finality of failure. If you believe that your ability is fixed, then any challenge becomes a threat. A poor result feels like a reflection of your identity. But if you believe you can grow, then a poor result is just part of the journey. It doesn't define you. It informs you. But informs you. That belief makes it easier to persist through difficulty, to stay committed during long, uncertain processes, and to keep trying new approaches when old ones don't work. Growth mindset turns pressure into possibility. It shifts your emotional response from fear to curiosity. Curiosity. Instead of shrinking in the face of difficulty, you start to engage with it. You ask questions, you experiment, and you seek guidance. You're not threatened by the fact that you don't know everything, you're energized by the chance to improve. And in doing so, you gradually build not just skills, but confidence, resilience, and emotional maturity. Many people stay stuck because they view challenge as a sign they're not ready or not good enough. But the truth is, challenge is the evidence that you are in the right place. You are being invited to level up, to uncover strength you didn't know you had. Those with a growth mindset embrace this process. They understand that transformation rarely happens in comfort. It's forged in the fire of adversity, in the moments when quitting is easier, but growth is calling. And every time they lean into that challenge, they emerge stronger, wiser, and more capable than before. The way you view the world determines how you experience it. Perspective acts as the internal lens through which everything is filtered. Your relationships, challenges, goals, and even your own sense of self. What you choose to focus on expands, and what you believe becomes the reality you respond to reality. This is why two people can face the exact same event and walk away with completely different emotions and decisions. One may feel defeated, while the other feels motivated. One sees loss, the other sees learning. And the difference lies not in the event itself, but in the perspective applied to it. Perception is not purely objective. It's shaped by your history, beliefs, mindset, and emotional state. What you expect to see often determines what you actually notice. If you walk into a room expecting criticism, even neutral comments can feel like attacks. If you approach life assuming people are out to help you grow, even hard feedback becomes a gift. Perspective alters not just what you see, but how you interpret what you see. It becomes a filter that either empowers or limits you, opens doors or closes them, lifts you up or keeps you stuck. Changing your perspective doesn't mean denying reality. It means looking at the same reality through a more constructive and empowering frame. You can acknowledge pain while still believing it has a purpose. You can accept failure while still seeing it as a step toward progress. This mental flexibility gives you emotional strength. It allows you to respond to life instead of reacting to it. Instead of saying, "This is happening to me," you begin to think, "This is happening for me." That one shift in language reflects a much deeper transformation in thought. Perspective also affects how you view yourself. If you see yourself as a victim of circumstances, your perception of what's possible narrows. You might avoid risks, settle for less, or stay silent when you should speak up. But if you begin to see yourself as someone capable of learning and adapting, your perception changes. You become more willing to try, more open to feedback, and more likely to bounce back from setbacks. Self-perception is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior, and it's driven almost entirely by the perspective you choose to hold. Gratitude is a perfect example of how perspective shapes perception. Two people may have the same resources, the same life, but one is focused on what's missing and feels frustrated, while the other focuses on what's present and feels fulfilled. The circumstances are identical. The experience is not. That's the power of perspective. It teaches you that control over your life begins with control over your lens. And when you learn to shift that lens intentionally, your entire world begins to change. Not because everything outside you changes, but because the way you see it does. Many people go through life feeling trapped by their past, defined by their mistakes, or shaped entirely by what others have done to them. They carry a story that was either handed to them or written in moments of pain, fear, or doubt. The truth is, you are not a passive character in your life. You are the author. The narrative may have begun without your consent, but the next chapter is entirely in your hands. The most powerful realization anyone can have is that the pen has always been yours. You may not control every event, but you control the meaning you give it, the lessons you carry, and the direction you move in next. Being the author of your story doesn't mean denying your pain or pretending trauma never happened. It means taking ownership of what you do with it. You can choose to let it become a chain that holds you back or a catalyst that launches you forward. You can choose to believe that your past defines your limits or that it refines your strength. Every day, in the way you think, speak, and act, you're writing your future story, even if you're unaware of it. The power lies in recognizing that your next decision can be the plot twist that changes everything. Many people hand over authorship to fear, resentment, or guilt. They let old wounds narrate their thoughts. They let other people's opinions dictate their direction. But no one else knows your full story. Only you do. And only you can decide how you want to interpret your experiences. You get to decide whether a failure makes you feel like a loser or serves as proof that you're willing to try. What? You get to decide whether rejection breaks your spirit or reveals what doesn't deserve your energy. You are not bound to keep repeating old chapters just because you're familiar with them. Even the act of reframing a story gives you back your power. Good power. What once was a painful ending can become the beginning of something wiser. What once was shame can become a source of empathy. The pen doesn't erase what's happened, but it allows you to create a new narrative around it. And in doing so, you transform yourself from a character who reacts into a creator who leads. Every powerful transformation begins with that shift from victimhood to authorship. When you begin to speak differently about your life, you begin to live differently. Words like I have no choice to turn into I have a decision to make. Phrases like this always happens to me shift into what can I learn from this? This inner dialogue is not just self-talk. It's authorship in motion. It's you reclaiming your voice, your direction, and your identity. And no matter how messy or broken your previous pages have been, the next sentence, the next paragraph, and the next chapter are yours to create. We often believe that meaningful change must come from dramatic action, a major life overhaul, a bold leap, or a grand declaration. But real, lasting change rarely works that way. It doesn't come all at once. It comes through small, consistent shifts in thought, behavior, and attitude. These micro-adjustments may seem insignificant in the moment, but over time, they reshape the way we live, think, and experience the world. The power of small shifts lies in their sustainability. They're not overwhelming. They're not based on hype. They're rooted in quiet, steady progress, and that's what makes them endure. One of the greatest barriers to growth is the idea that we need to wait until we feel completely ready before taking action. But the truth is, you don't need to move a mountain. You just need to move one stone today. When you begin with small, intentional shifts, momentum builds. Choosing to wake up 10 minutes earlier to reflect, choosing to pause before reacting, choosing to ask a question instead of assuming. These choices may seem minor, but repeated over time, they rewire your habits, strengthen your mindset, and compound into powerful results. Small shifts also reduce the fear of failure. When goals feel too big, they can paralyze us. But when you break them down into smaller, manageable steps, you create a pathway that feels achievable. You're more likely to start, and once you start, you're more likely to continue. You prove to yourself that change is possible, and that creates a cycle of confidence. Every small win becomes evidence that you are growing, adapting, and becoming someone new, one step at a time. Consistency beats intensity when it comes to transformation. A single burst of motivation can feel exciting, but it's short-lived. What truly reshapes your identity are the small decisions you make on ordinary days. The decision to stay committed when no one is watching. The decision to speak kindly to yourself even after a mistake. And it's a mistake. The decision to show up again even when progress feels slow. These are the choices that build character, resilience, and strength. Even mindset shifts don't require massive change all at once. Simply choosing to believe that effort matters, that you're capable of learning, or that your voice matters can redirect the course of your life.